Hey folks, and welcome back to West Yorkshire Retro Gamer. I promised you this. You've been crying out for it, and thankfully I've been able to deliver. We've needed something positive to talk about, because the last week or so has been very much doom and gloom, due to certain things not being met. So let's keep this video as positive as we possibly can. So I've taken a look at everything that's gone on from a day after we won the championship with 100 points, 95 goals scored. You know, it's pretty good. Yeah. So, point number one, unbeaten in pre-season. You got to look at the opposition we played in pre-season, and pre-season is pre-season. It's friendly matches. There's nothing to gauge in terms of tactics, formations, player form, and results. However, on the flip side, it doesn't do any harm. And in pre-season, we've played Manure, we've played Villarreal, and we've played AC Milan. Did any of those beat us? Did the heck? We got draws against all three of them. And I went to the match at Ellen Road for the friendly. And, you know, when I look at all of that, and we actually won the matches against the lower league German opposition as well on the Germany tour. And from what I could gauge with the friendly that I went to at Ellen Road, and I did watch the other two games on our UTV. I thought we looked quite good. You know, you can't argue about being unbeaten in anything, can you? And being unbeaten in something, it breeds confidence. It gives you a little bit of experience of not losing. And as minor as this may come across, I think it's actually quite big. I think it's quite important. If there's some means of being able to build a positive mentality, then going unbeaten in pre-season doesn't do any harm. Point number two, 10 new players in. Now, it'll take a bit of time for these players to bed in and to get used to the tactics, the managerial instructions, the opposition that they're going to be coming up against, getting used to their new teammates, the players that were already at Leeds anyway. But at the end of the day, as Dan Moylan says on Square Ball, it's 10 shiny new toys to play with. And it'll be interesting to see how these 10 players get on. You know, they're all senior players. We haven't signed any players for the first team that are only really good enough for the youth team. We've signed a couple of players for the youth team, Jaden Leonu and Enaharo Marcus. I can't remember his first name. There are a couple of defenders because we lost a couple in the summer. But in terms of those 10 new players in, I mean, I've listed them all on previous videos, so you all know who they are now. But all being well, hopefully they all do well. Point number three, we got our first Premier League win in our first Premier League match of the season. I mean, you can't ask for anything more there, can you? Really? This season is more so than any other season of results-based business. If we get enough points to survive this season, and and all of these results are either draws or wins by only a 1-goal margin, hell, I'll take it. I just want us to have a season where we stay up, and it gives us a platform then to use Premier League money to build the squad that's going to start climbing up the league. If we end up with 10 wins and 10 draws and 40 points and 17th place this season, that's a successful season to me. When you've just come up and when you see what's happened to the 6 teams that have gone down, and I still maintain we'll get that. That could have been the 11th point on this list. But as long as that target is still available, I am going to maintain that we will get that this season. But that first match, a very solid performance against what ended up being a bit of a poor Everton team in the end. Everton's obviously picked up since, but at the end of the day, they're an established Premier League team. They've never been relegated since the Premier League was formed, and we beat them. And I think we only had 3 of the new signings play in that match. The rest of it was made up of players that were in the Championship with Leeds United last season. It's a bloody good win, that. I don't think that can be underestimated. Everton will argue, we didn't have Jack Grealish. He came on as a sub. But, whatever. So, no, really, really good first match in terms of result. And really good penalty from Metro as well, by the way. Let me just point that out. That's how you take a penalty. Moving on. Point number 4. Leeds get a draw against a top 6 Premier League club. Again, could be argued Newcastle had a couple of key players missing, but look at that squad. A bit similar to Leeds in the sense that maybe they were missing a prolific striker. But come on. Rest of that squad's just been playing in bloody Champions League, Europa Conference League. These are top end players, and they couldn't beat us. It's a very creditable draw against a very established, Newcastle side. And again, we didn't look out of place. We looked quite competitive. It was just, as I say, we just lacked a little bit up front, but the rest of it was fine. You can't argue with a clean sheet against, against a top 6 Premier League club, in my opinion, when you've only just come up, from Championship. Moving on to point 5. 2 games at Ellen Road and unbeaten in both. Ellen Road, very early on, we've got to bear that in mind. But very early on, we have made Ellen Road a fortress. 2 well-established clubs have come to Ellen Road, and Wendy, if you even think about it, just thinking of jumping onto the bloody clothes horse that I've got set up that's drying my clothes. I'm not drying them outside today. I've got warnings of a thunderstorm coming on. But she was looking at it though. She was looking at bloody clothes horse thinking, right, I'm going to jump on this. Ugh. Honestly, my 2 cats, love them to bits, but they're balmy. So this is a really promising start at Ellen Road. I mean, is there any slight possibility that we go through the entire season unbeaten at Ellen Road? I don't think it'll go that far, but I think, a lot of the time people make a big thing about saying that they need to get as many points at home because they'll get less away and all this kind of thing. End of the day, you're playing on a football pitch. All the pitches are of a similar dimension. You would think similar grass quality. The footballs are all Premier League regulated, so they're all going to be using the same type of football. So I don't read into, and 3 points is 3 points. You don't get 4 points if you get a win away and only two at home. It's 3 points whether you're home or away. The one biggest thing, and it doesn't apply as much to Leeds because Leeds always take a fantastic following away from home, but at home, it is one of the best atmospheres in England, if not the world. When it comes to football stadium atmospheres, and it is an intimidating stadium to go to. There's managers, both past and present, of other clubs that have said that one of the stadiums they hate taking their team to is Ellen Road, because it is intimidating. The fans create that atmosphere. I know I've been there as a fan, and it's brilliant. I love it. And to say that we've come up against a team that's likely to finish mid-table and a team that's likely to finish top 6 this season, and neither have been able to beat us, I'll take that. And if it ends up being that we get the majority of 10 wins and 10 draws at home, obviously you can't get them all at home because we'll only play 38 games. But you can get most of your points at home, and then you only need to nick a couple of wins away. So we'd probably target maybe Burnley and Sunderland because they've come up at the same time as us. So there's 2 away wins for you. And then you look at the teams that are struggling. At the bottom of the table when you go to their ground. So maybe give Wolves at Molineux as an example. So it's really good. We're showing signs that we are making Ellen Road a very competitive stadium for opposition to come to. That's brilliant, really, really good. Point number 6. Many of our former Championship players have stepped up. They really have. When you look at the 2 games that we've been unbeaten, I'm not talking about the Arsenal game. That was a one-off, bizarre, horrible experience, and it was away. But at home, some of these Championship players that have made the step up have looked good. Bogle looks very good at right back, doesn't he? He's bombing forward. He's trying his best to assist in the attack. Ampadu and Tanaka played very well in the Everton game. Trying to think who else. Gruev played quite well in the Newcastle game. To be fair to him, he stepped up a little bit there. Strauch and Roden, again, they've taken their defensive partnership from the Championship and proven to be a good defensive force against Everton and Newcastle this season. Trying to think who else has done alright. I think Willie Nontos looked alright, I think he's looked like one of our more creative sparks on the left wing. So some of these Championship players, they are trying to step up here, and again, very early on, but certainly in the 2 games that we're unbeaten in, I think all of our Championship contingent or former Championship contingent have done all right so far. I really do. Fair play to them, because it's got to be hard, especially for those that haven't played in Premier League before. It's a massive step up in quality and class that they're coming up against. So fair play to them. Point number 7. Gudmundsson and Stack look like very good buys. Out of all of the 10 players that we've signed so far, these 2, for me, really have stepped up and shown, little bits of how good they can be. Gudmundsson's my favourite so far. I think he looks a very, very, very capable left back, and for between 10 and 11 million quid, that's a steal. At this level, with the amount of money that teams are spending on players. I mean, that's a steal for me, is that? Anton Stark, yeah, you can see why he got a lot of statistical good results in the Bundesliga. Very effective, very good midfielder, very all-round midfielder. Seems to be able to do a little bit of everything. So those two in particular, and again, Stack bought for around £17 million. They're 17-18 million pound. It's not bad business. That I think we've got two very good players. So two very good players for 30 million combined, and Sunderland paid 30 million for one player in Diarra. Let that sink in. So yeah, I really think that out of the 10 new players, I think these two have really stood out so far. Plenty of time for the others to integrate and to show what they can do. But for me, yeah, Gudmundsson and Stack could be two of the Premier League's best signings when you take into account everything. So ability, performance, value. It's all very well Liverpool spending three-figure sums on two of their new signings, but whether they actually bring value, only time will tell. But when you look at it, all of Leeds' signings were made for under £20 million each. We've probably got one of the lowest spending, for the number of players we bought, or number of new players we brought in. We've probably got the lowest expenditure, or one of them. When you look at the players that have been brought in. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But yeah, Gabby and Anton, very good in particular. Point number 8, we're currently mid-table in the Premier League. I know it's only 3 games, but you take it, don't you? The more time that we spend outside of that relegation zone, the easier it is for us as Leeds fans to enjoy the season and to look at the Premier League table and not see us struggling. I literally thought that we would only have 1 point after the first 3 games, and we've ended up with 4. I thought we'd get a draw against Everton and that we'd lose against Arsenal and Newcastle, and we've ended up upgrading 2 of those results. The draw became a win against Everton, and the loss became a draw against Newcastle. I'll take that. And when you see Leeds currently mid-table in the Premier League, it's only 3 games played, but we'll take it. We're 3 games closer to survival. That's how I'm looking at it right now. It's so early on. How else can you look at it? West Ham started terribly. Wolves, dreadful. We haven't had the starts that they've had. Brentford are very hit and miss. Brentford finished top half last season. I don't think they'll be finishing top half this season. Yeah. So yeah, I like it. I like seeing Leeds in a comfortable position, and I know it's very, 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 very early on, but you take it. You take it. I would. Point number 9. The squad has been upgraded in many positions. Whichever way we look at it, right, we know that we're a bit light up front, creative midfield and right wing. We know that we're a bit light in those 3 positions. But all the other positions, it really is an upgrade. I'd say Perry's an upgrade on the rest of our goalkeepers. We've brought in 2 centre backs that there's certainly no work. I don't think they'll end up being any worse than Verber, any worse than Max Verber, who's left. And they're likely to be better than De Bayo, who was the next nearest centre back that ended up being let go. I didn't. Again, I haven't included De Bayo in the videos because again, he's still only 20, and he's left now. Fullback Gudmundsson. I'd say he's an upgrade. Definitely. Justin, remains to be seen. He's hardly played yet. Some people have said that we've overspent on Justin, possibly. But again, only time will tell. But in terms of squad depth, and if we feel we've upgraded in those positions, I'd say we have, and I think we've got 4 pretty capable fullbacks now. In the midfield, Stack and Longstaff. I'd say that's an upgrade. All that Premier League experience with Longstaff for 12 million. I know there's add-ons that can take it to 15, but for an initial 12 mil, and then Stack, to get Stack for under £20 million, feels like an upgrade to me. Left wing, I mean, we don't know yet whether Okafor's an upgrade yet, but I mean, again, we've signed, he's a player that was on the books at AC Milan, for Christ's sake. He can't be terrible, can he? The only reason that he didn't get more game time was partially because of injury, but partially because he's up against Rafael Leao, who's, he's a fully fledged Brazilian international, for Christ's sake. So... And I saw Okafor in the friendly against Leeds when he played for AC Milan, and he was one of AC Milan's best players on the day. So, So I think there are many positions in the Leeds squad that have been upgraded this season. And I know we can harp on about those 3 positions that we haven't upgraded in, but we can't dismiss the fact that the rest of the squad, definitely, well, certainly early on, definitely looks upgraded. And then finally, Leeds have got players to come back from injury. You look at how good Ampadu and Tanaka were in that first match against Everton, and we haven't had them since, and it's been quite clear that we need them. Tanaka is one of our more creative players, and he's one of our more reliable midfielders. Ampadu, with his leadership, he is the club captain for a reason. And once we've got those 2 players back, then all of a sudden we've got options in midfield again because of the formation we're playing. Once they come back, and then there was some small knocks for the likes of Gudmundsson, for example. By all accounts, it looks as if Gudmundsson's injury is not too bad, and he'll be available. Rodon's picked up a knock as well, but he's I think that was concussion, so they're just having to go through protocol with that one. So he's returned to Leeds from the Wales camp. So all being well, as long as all of the other players that have gone on international duty, I think initially there were 10. We had 10 players that all went on international duty. So as long as they all come back fully fit, and again, like Okafor, who had previously picked up a knock, if he gets himself fit in time for the, because he was on the bench, but again, he's only just come back from an injury. Bornau, one of the reasons he was so poor in the cup was because, again, he's only just come back from an injury. So if these players come back after the international break in better condition, then I think we've got mostly, a very competitive and a very fit squad. So yeah, there we have it, folks. I'm going to leave it there. I'm trying so hard to make my videos a bit shorter because I know a lot of them are quite long. But any positives that you feel have happened, since we won the championship, put them. If they're not in this list of 10, put them in the comments down below. I'd love to see what positives you feel there are. Do you agree with these as being positives, or do you think that I'm maybe missing something here? Do please put your thoughts in the comments down below. But I'll leave it there, folks. Big thank you for watching. Do please give the video a like, and do please subscribe if you haven't already. And with that in mind, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.